Hello, everybody. I'm here today with Ellaine Gelman from Lit7s, the CEO. How you doing, Elaine? And she's coming right across the pond from the UK. How are you? Nice to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you.
So we have, when I do the master calendar for the season, there's a couple of events that are standing out for me this season because we did not have them before here in Florida, although we did have one of the camps. But you, which have a long history, and we're going to get into that in a second, are planning two big events. One is a camp on November 14th and 16th, between those dates, and on Thanksgiving, your first Lit7s tournament in Florida. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into rugby, and how did you start this project that has taken off to such big extent?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually started playing rugby in the United States myself. So
Nice.
I was a big athlete when I was younger. I played basketball and tennis and gymnastics, but rugby wasn't on offer when I was, in middle school or even high school. So I actually started playing when I was at George Washington University.
Okay.
And I don't know, I just thought I would be good at it. I thought I would enjoy it. And I didn't know anybody that played rugby at the time. And I just joined the team, absolutely loved it. And then in my third year of university, I did a year abroad at Oxford in England. Ended up making the Blues team there, which, over here is quite a big deal, playing against Cambridge. It was this big spectacle, a whole season of competing on the Bucks League here, which was very competitive. Learned so much, and then went back, captained the GW team, brought back all the learnings that I'd had, and then ended up going back to Oxford for another 3 years for law school. Continued to play for the Blues for those 3 years. I then graduated, ended up staying in the UK, played for Wasps Rugby Club, and then played for some various teams in kind of closer to where I live once I started qualifying as a lawyer. And then I discovered Rugby Sevens. And I found that I could keep kind of playing at a very competitive level without needing to go to training regularly, which was really hard for me once I started kind of working as a lawyer. So that was kind of how I started playing sevens. And we started a men's team to kind of promote the company that I'd started at the time. And then we started a women's team the following year. And then at that same time, we got approached to kind of work together with a sports festival to start a rugby sevens competition at that festival. We did that. That was in back in 2012, I believe. And then the following year, we thought, you know what, we can do this on our own. And that's sort of how the tournament began. And now it's been 13 years. It's now a series of 6 events. And it's the biggest rugby seven series in Europe with teams like China, Hong Kong, Cyprus, Belgium competing alongside, elite teams in the UK, but also competing with open and social teams as well. So it's kind of a combination of all kinds of different levels of rugby sevens, which has been a lot of fun.
This is six tournaments in the UK
Yes, that's right.
throughout the year.
Yes,
That's
it's mostly so we run what we call the Lit Super 7 series. So it starts in May and finishes in July. So there's 6 events then. And then now we've complemented that with what we're doing in the US, which is the 2 rugby camps. And now our first tournament in the USA on Thanksgiving weekend.
is that like the off season over there for 15s, more or less?
Yes. Yes. So sevens here is primarily played in the summer and then actually in November. So that's kind of why we've decided to do the tournament when we are in November in the United States, because we want to offer an opportunity for American teams to do the same. So when it's cold, when there's snow on the ground, you could come to Florida and play in the sunshine. So a lot of teams from the UK, they go to Dubai Sevens, they go to other tournaments in November. So we wanted to bring that to the United States and give that offering as well.
Tell me about your first tournament. How because beginnings are always, they really stay in your mind. And by the way, your Lit7s is as old as my rugby FL, so we're like on the same. We're as old. We're both pretty old in
Yeah.
one.
No, absolutely. So when we first started out, I'd actually started a company called Find Rugby Now, which is still running today. So you can find them at Find Rugby Now on Instagram. And it started as sort of part of a bigger event. We had 20 teams at our first tournament, mostly elite teams from memory. We entered our own men's team as well. And it went really well. We had, some England rugby stars at the time, Chris Cracknell, and Fiona Pocock, who both had played for England. They came down on the day. Mark Mapletoft, who's actually leading, one of the men's England teams at the moment. So some big names. We had Pale Nonu, who's related to Ma Nonu, who played for New Zealand. So they kind of came down and they were helping us raise awareness, and we just had a lot of fun with it. It was it's one of those things, as as time goes on, the tournament has grown. It's now the biggest Lit7s, the founding event, which is the last event we run every summer. It's the biggest sevens tournament in the UK now. We actually turn teams away every year because we can't fit them in. We get teams from France flying in now. We've had China competing. We've had teams from all over the place. So it's been a lot of fun, but it's taken some time to grow. And that's what we're invested in doing in the United States with the Florida event as well.
What made you think of the United States to bring this?
So I actually live in the U.S. as well. So my parents live in the U.S. So when we moved down there 3 years ago now, it was, I just saw that there's real opportunity there for hosting really great events. I mean, the location where we're doing it is so beautiful. It's a big stadium with 23 pitches around. All of the pitches are grass pitches. It's beautiful weather in November. But then more importantly, kind of the reason we moved to the US as well is to try to grow the sport in particular before the next Olympics, which will be held in the United States. And with the growth of the women's, sevens program as well, how well they did, that was a cherry on top. We actually started the planning before any of that happened. But I certainly think that the United States is missing out a little bit in growing the sport. And I just wanted to bring back all the learnings that I've had over the last 13 years and try to help grow the sport and help make it exciting, and it's called Lit7s, which is a kind of a double meaning. So it's London International Sevens Tournament, which was the name of the original event. But it's also Lit7s. It's like bringing that excitement back to rugby sevens into these events. And, we want to get Perry Baker and Naya and Carla Niles and all these exciting coaches there that will excite the players. We want the events to be exciting. We just really want to kind of fire up the United States to get on board with this sport, which we think is the best sport in the world.
Also, for what we see in this video, you seem to make the events pretty fun and all around with so much stuff, not only the games, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we'd love to bring to Florida. A lot of what I see in the US is, there'll be, elite tournaments, specifically, let's say elite men's tournaments, or there'll be collegiate tournaments, or, sometimes there's smaller tournaments. We want to bring everything together. So I love having like elite, open, social together. I love giving all the teams an opportunity to play on pitch one. So pitch one isn't just reserved for the elite teams. And then you got to have the fun around it, right? You got to have the music, you got to have cool stalls and fun things, and for people to get involved and get dressed up and wear fancy dress. And I've been to a couple tournaments now in the US, and as soon as the tournament is done, everybody goes home. And that really misses out, I think, on rugby, part of the rugby culture. And I
Even
think,
before it's done, you typically see these local tournaments. The final, everybody's gone. It's just the
yeah,
finalist, and I
yeah,
think one of the reasons is because there's no reason to stay. So you have
yes.
to add that. And
Absolutely. And I think that's for a reason. I mean, we've come across some difficulties in the US that don't exist in the UK. I mean, I think there's some fundamental changes, some differences between the two countries. So, for example, in the UK, our events are at rugby clubs, right? That in its nature changes kind of the events. The pitches are already there, the club is there, the club bar is there. There's an incentive for everyone to stay because obviously the club is making money on the event as well. Whereas at these, sports facilities, which is primarily where, the events are hosted in the US, we're not really making any money on alcohol. The club's not, there is no rugby club.
Yeah.
So, it's an expense. And so I can see why there's also, alcohol restrictions and different things that are just kind of impediments, I think, in the US. But one of the things we're really focused on is we want to combine like the best of the UK rugby culture and the best of US culture. So, like, I'd love to get like a US band in, like a high school drum band in with cheerleaders, but then also have like the haka, that kind of, we won't be doing exactly that, but that kind of
Yeah.
combination of what makes the US so great at sport and makes it so fun. And then combine that with, what rugby is like abroad. And I think that would be really fun.
Let's talk a little bit about the camps because you started by doing the camps. You did one in California last year and in Florida also last year, correct?
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Yes. So IMG was our first one.
how do those camps go in terms of attendance and experience? Tell us a little bit about that and what to expect for this one in November.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were so great. We had really good response. So both camps had over 50 campers. It was a mixture of youth and adult players. Following the camps, we've had 13 players that were put forward on a pathway toward USA Rugby, which was really exciting. We also had players that have been picked up to play elite rugby following those camps. So there is a pathway system there. We're really lucky in that we work with, Irene Gardner, Kelly Griffin, who are the USA Pathway coaches on the women's side, and then Perry Baker, who works with USA Rugby, J.K. Anderson, who's really big, on the collegiate and club end. So, I think by combining all of these different coaches with their, insight and their influence, that's, I think given us an opportunity to provide a really unique pathway system for the players as well. So, and quite a few of the women, for example, will be playing in our Lit7s select team, which will be appearing for the first time in Florida, which is exciting. But I've got one of the little booklets that we give to our players, for example, at the camp. So this was at
Oh, that's
Chula.
nice.
So that's all the players there. And then they all get an individual picture with all of the coaches as well, which is really fun for them. So
An actual printed picture. That's very nice.
yes, and then they get autographs from all the coaches after, which is quite cool.
Yeah. So this one is gonna be, as you mentioned, in IMG, which is a really nice venue. You did this one in IMG last year also, right?
Yes, so it's a $4 billion facility. I mean, it's one of the best in the country. Just fantastic pitches and facilities, and the cafeteria has, everything you could possibly offer. And yeah, I think the vision behind the camps is basically to provide the campers with a professional experience. So it was as if they had been selected to play, for the USA, and we treat them as such. So they get nutritional talks, they get so that's, for example, from the first day when we do panel talks, they're able to ask the coaches questions, and then they have fitness testing, and then a rigorous program over those 2.5 days where they're working on the different skills, and then on the last day they actually get to play matches, and then we have photographers and videographers there to record everything, so that they then have things they can send to recruiters, send to their coaches. And we do a feedback for every player as well, so they get individual feedback from the players on what they can work on, and things that they've observed throughout the camp. So I think it speaks for itself. We've got quite a few campers coming back following the two camps that we've had, so I think that is really good testimony. But we've got loads of interviews with players and coaches, on Lit7s, on our Instagram pages that people can read. We've also had Vortex and Great American Rugby attend the camps, and they've done some reviews themselves. So I think so far we're really, really happy with what we've been able to produce, and every camp just keeps getting better. So we keep learning as well, seeing what the players need, and offering different things, because obviously for those repeat campers, we also want them to have slightly different experiences every time.
And they also seem to have fun.
Absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
the head coach is Perry Baker, and
Yes.
he is, far more entertaining than
You
I
can't
am.
go wrong with Perry,
So
of course. And
he's
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 home.
yeah, he's such a character, and all of the coaches, I mean, they love coaching, like they do this because they love it. So they have as much fun as the campers do. We went to Chula Vista Olympic training camp for the
Yeah.
last one, and that was really exciting for all those coaches to be back there again. Perry's there all the time, but some of the others like Carlin hadn't been there in a couple
Yeah.
years. Naya isn't professional anymore, so it's fun for them too, and you can really feel that like everyone just has a really good time. But at the same time, there is that level of professionalism where they're setting expectations for the players and they want the best out of them. So I think it's a really good combination that any level that you're at, we don't take beginners.
Yeah.
But if you're ranging from advanced beginner to elite, the camp is a great kind of opportunity for you because you get individual attention from these coaches, and we divide up the campers based on skill level after the first day, so we're able to also adjust to the player needs.
How has the response been for this one so far?
Yeah, pretty good. We're over 50% full. So we've still got, what is it, a little over a month to
Like
go,
a month, yeah.
which is great. I mean, we have a limited amount of spots actually. So, we've reached out to, our past campers and to some select individuals that have been referred to us, but there's definitely still space. So if anybody would like to come and join us, we would love to receive their application.
Well, any Florida player, don't expect them to sign up very early. They're going to do that the week before, most likely,
Exactly.
as you may already know. Uh, okay, and let's talk a little bit about the tournament. So this is your first, and it's a big bet, I guess, because a tournament, organizing one of this type of tournaments takes a lot. Of course, you have all the experience from the UK. What are you expecting for this first tournament here in the US?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the first, whenever you do anything for the first time, it's always going to be the hardest, right? So now when we run our Lit7s events in the UK, they sell out. We don't even need to promote them, right? They just, we actually turn teams away.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping we'll get to with the Florida event. But obviously, at the moment, the key focuses for me are we want every single team that shows up to have good competition, a good amount of matches, good referees, which is really important. So we've been really focusing on that, and also for them to have a good time. If those three things happen, the event will be a success because they'll, that will funnel through. We're also going to get really good media of all the teams, get interviews with them, get some cool clips of the players playing, and hopefully live stream the event. So there'll be some, media after that we can share with the wider public. But the key thing is that every team that shows up has a great experience. And if that happens, I think that will be a success. I think obviously getting the right amount of teams in every bracket is really important. So, we've already got enough teams for adult men, elite, adult women elite, and then under 18s boys, under 18 girls. So that's really exciting. So we know we'll have those four categories, and then we still got time. So we're still waiting on which teams are registering. We're talking to a lot who are still trying to gather their players and things like that. But some exciting teams coming through. So we've got on the women's side, Chicago North Shore will be coming down. You've got Phoenix Rugby, who's a local side. Our own lit, USA Sevens side will be having their debut. Then on the men's side, some really exciting teams. Gorilla Rugby will be coming. Alliance have entered 3 teams. We've got teams like from Florida called
Pittsburgh.
which one? Sorry.
Pittsburgh.
Yes, Blitzbirds, the Pelicans,
Yeah, the Pelican.
which is really exciting. SoFlo will be entering South Florida, so some local teams, but then also teams from out of state, which will be a nice combination.
Was the goal to bring teams from the US or from abroad, or like a combination of both?
Ideally, it would be a combination of both. I think year one will be more domestic, will be more of a domestic competition, and then I think the unique differentiator that I think we can bring is we can bring those teams from Europe. So I think once we do the event for year one, we see how it really works. Next year, we're really going to be focusing on bringing our European teams over and creating kind of that connection between UK and US. So, our
And don't
UK
forget the Canadians; they love to come.
and the Canadian, of course. I mean, we'll take
Well, I
everybody.
don't know right now, but normally they love to come down here.
Absolutely. I mean, it's cold everywhere in November. So,
Yes,
everybody's going to
not
want to come
here,
from
not here.
Florida.
It's not here. Cold
Exactly. Exactly.
and was the date? Because it's obviously, and this is a one day tournament, right?
Yes.
It's a one day, and obviously on Thanksgiving, that is a little bit of a challenge. I don't know if you have felt that, when you're approaching teams and they're telling you, "Well, we can't really do Thanksgivings."
So Thanksgiving is on Thursday, the tournament is on Saturday. So it's not
Okay,
actually on Thanksgiving. It's on that weekend, but it's
okay,
not on Thanksgiving Day.
so you can do
So
both. You can do
So
both.
you can do both very easily. All of our tournaments in the UK are one-day tournaments,
Oh,
and
okay.
we've found that teams actually really love that in the UK, because you get the same amount of matches still, but you don't. A, it's cheaper for teams because you don't have to pay for an extra day of accommodation. And actually, if you're progressing as a team, it's kind of nice to have all your matches in one day, as long as you get ample rest between the
Yeah,
matches. So we'll see how that works in the US. If a lot of things for us are, this year we're trying things. We'll see if they work next year. Maybe it will be a 2-day event, but I like 1-day events because I think then you can go hard. You can also party on the Saturday. And then on the Sunday, we'll have a brunch for the teams as well on the beach. So there'll be, several events around the tournament. So you can make it one day or you can make it a whole weekend. So on the Friday night, we'll probably have a welcome event, then we'll have the tournament on the Saturday and then a brunch for the teams on the Sunday. So if you are coming from out of state, you could kind of train on the Friday, have that welcome event, play on the Saturday, and then have an activity on the Sunday. So you could make it a 3-day thing as well.
yeah, it seems to work out. Did of course you are knowledgeable of Tropical 7 that has been going on for I don't know, maybe 10 years now. Did that in any way like sort of inspire you for this?
We did speak to Tropical, and I actually attended the tournament this year to kind of see how they run things, and it's a fantastic tournament. I think the best or one of the best in the United States. So, I think for me it was interesting to see how in Florida the weather impacts the tournament. So for example, I was
Right.
able to observe like all the teams had marquees that were set up for them. Very different to the UK. UK, everybody has their own gazebos. Whereas, in the US, I guess a lot of teams fly in, so they don't necessarily have that
Yeah.
infrastructure to drive over. So that kind of observation, also seeing how hot it is and how that impacts, that's definitely been having, those are considerations we've had to take into account. For example, with an after party, right? If it's really hot outside, are people going to stay and party in the sun? How do we accommodate for that? What do we do, to kind of counter those things. So I think that was the biggest learning point for me. I think also, Tropical is focused more on the youth side of the
Yeah.
game. I think I would like this tournament to be more focused on the adult side of the game with youth, competitions if there's an interest. But what I would really love is to have, elite open social adult teams at this event and over the years build that aspect of it up. Because there's 23 pitches, we have the potential to really,
Unlimited growth. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty big gap between this one and Tropical, so I don't think that's gonna, you could probably have teams that are gonna go to both. But as you said, Tropical is mostly oriented to younger. They just got into adults a couple of years ago, and so I don't think that's gonna be an issue. And yeah, Thanksgiving's. It is actually a good day because pretty much there is zero rugby across the United States on that weekend. So that's the only thing. And what are your expectations for the future? Because once you get into this, of course, you're making plans to do it again and again and again. How far are you planning to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I think I like to kind of observe and see, we don't want to come in and have a set plan of what we want to do before seeing, the response to what we're already doing and also what does the US need? I think that's the key question for us. It could be interesting to do a series in the United States. There have been a lot of, requests for that from people that we talk to. United States is a difficult calendar, I think.
And it's
Everybody's
so
playing
big.
different
I mean,
times, and yeah, it's very big. It's different to the UK where, we have 6 events and every team can pretty much drive to every event,
yeah.
so it's a different kind of some different challenges, I guess. So The plan will be to try to help grow the game in the United States in any way we want, and that involves, working with our other existing organizations that are already doing such great things. I'd also love to help grow the sport in Florida specifically because, that's where two of our events are, and we always like to give back to the community. So with our camps, we work with World Rugby Shop. We always choose three clubs and we give them $150 gift certificates to buy rugby equipment. We also try to give scholarships to a couple of individuals from that state where we're hosting the event. So we also want to give back and be useful. And yeah, I think just growing the sport. We've got some plans, but I think the short term is have every one of these three events be really successful this year, and then learn from that, adapt, and next year make it even bigger and better.
Are you having Mike Friday commenting?
To
Or is
be
it
seen. I would love to. I would absolutely love to. One of the challenges we've encountered in the US is, everything is very, very expensive, much more expensive than the UK for certain suppliers and things like live stream, etc. So, there are challenges, financially with running a smaller event. Once our event is larger, 100%, no question, we'll be bringing in, commentators from abroad. Year one, we're gonna see what the budget allows, but yeah, I'd love to have them there.
so? Is that is where you sign up in lit7s.com, correct?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's a separate place on there you'll see on the front page, or in the link of our Instagram profiles for Lit7s or Lit7s USA. And yeah, there's still spaces for all the different competitions. So we'd love to have more teams sign up.
Okay. Well, sounds like a busy and exciting November for sevens. We do have, I would say, sevens is not huge here in Florida in terms of high level sevens, but this obviously is very interesting, both the camp and the tournament. So I wish it goes great and it keeps growing year after year. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Charlie. One other thing I was going to say was we are working with Rugby Connect to also allow players to sign up individually. So even if you don't have a team, but you'd like to play, if you can register through the website, we will do our best to set you up with a team. So that's one thing that's been actually really popular. We've had over, 15 players sign up already individually. So if anybody doesn't have a team and wants to take part, you definitely can. We've even had players from abroad sign up. So
Okay.
that's
I,
also an
I
opportunity.
forgot to ask you if by any chance you're going to have people like selectors coming in from either colleges or USA Rugby to the
So
tournament.
we had talked to Ben Pickelman, who I think was planning on coming for USA, but that was a few months ago. So I need to check in with him. But certainly we'd love that. So we will be chatting to some recruiters. There's also some academies that are coming, so I'm sure they'll be kind of scouting as well. Red Top Lions, Loons Academy, a few others will be there. So there will be definitely eyes on it, and then obviously we've got the live stream that will be available. So hopefully there will be some opportunity for players to get exposure through that.
Of course. Okay. Thank you very much, Elaine. Nice talking to you, and I'll probably see you in November.
Thank you so much, Shirley, and I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do, and so professional. And there aren't many people in the United States right now growing the game like you, and we really
Thank
need them. So thank you so much.
you. Okay. I'll see you soon. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.